coping with the medical establishment, you must have more informed consent than is now normally available. You need to rehearse what will be the next step. You need to know something about how other people have coped. You need bonding, you need information, and it's very difficult to find it. I think that it is very easy if one works in a medical institution to forget how really astounding it is to somebody who's not around people who are ill. And that you walk in the front door and what nurses and doctors and secretaries and staff and radiologists and everybody else takes for granted can be rather surprising if you've never been in one of these institutions. Now, because I'm alone, I cheerfully went down to the radiation clinic for my first treatment in radiation alone. And it's something I would never suggest anybody be allowed to do. It was so full, you know, it was crowded. And so I'm leaning against the wall, sort of observing that somebody was attached to them for at least 15 minutes. And they would say, here is your chair, you may find the noise here, or the painting on everybody's face is surprising, this is why they do it. The noise is not a problem. You are not going to get radiation sickness because you can hear some of the machines. Of course, you sit there sort of wondering. Just that there isn't enough done at the initial moment of contact between the patient and the institution. All those things, I think, are terribly difficult to deal with. It is very hard to admit that your doctor is not a god. You do want him to take care of you in a very real sense, male or female. You still want him to have all the answers. And it takes, I think, a great deal of courage and rethinking it constantly to remember that he makes as many mistakes as anybody else in the world does. He's going to do his best, and he may be able to do it better if you're willing to treat him like a human being instead of a doctor. I think the greatest problem is the doctors and the nurses not understanding something about the timing for the patient. They really miss that whole issue, that it's the major event. It's very difficult to think about anything else when you've just been told you were dying. And it's not the major event in their lives. And so they give you 10 minutes, and they say, I've come to answer your questions. And you haven't even gotten your questions organized, and you're going to have them over the next 8 days. A doctor just can't do it. He doesn't have the time, he doesn't have the training, he doesn't have a psychological outlook. He doesn't have any of the attributes that a patient who's dying needs in terms of having somebody around that can help. But, you know, ever since I've been treated at a major cancer institution in the United States, nobody's offered me any psychological help.